Right.
Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. Time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, how are you doing on this nice, cool, rainy spring day? Or
Mm.
actually, it's still spring technically, right? Yeah,
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 I
it's
guess
spring.
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're in April. Yeah, we're
I
not going to
lose
be in
track. I
too
lose
soon.
track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Going doing just dandy over here. So LA, aside from now that we're having more time removed from fire season, I think
Hmm.
we're doing okay. In general, yeah, no complaints at all, really. So if there's any complaints at all, and I mean this is a great segue already, even when
Hmm.
as we're getting our things out, our pleasantries out of the way. But yeah, if there's any drama at all, it's Nintendo.
Oh, jeez Louise, man.
So I mean, I can just start sharing my screen and we can start going
Yeah,
right into
let's
it.
let's just jump right into you. Why don't you I don't even know where you want to start. There's a lot to talk about. Oh
Oh
my
yeah,
gosh.
I know. We'll just
Excuse
start.
me.
We'll
Excuse me.
start. We'll start at the top. Let me just get started here, get
Yeah,
set
yeah.
underway.
What are we
Where we
working with?
last
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We last left off, I was doing Warhog Pass on Act 3 of our cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll keep doing that. There's more stuff to kind of fill in, like you'll see right here. I gotta add some more Warhogs here. So yeah, I've got plenty more sets of stuff to do, and I'll keep using our library of Warhog stuff to keep fleshing out all the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's where we're kind of at tonight. So I'll be kind of jumping around all over the place between a couple of different files and stuff like that while we jump around and talk about Nintendo.
Yeah, 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 indeed. Well, you clearly have at least an initial thought on your mind. You wanna first thing that comes to your head.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll get it started a little bit. I mean, boy, the direct was great. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think I pretty much, sometimes I disagree with the general internet populace, but other times I'm pretty much in sync. I feel a lot of people, a lot of internets out there pretty much thought that the direct was great, but it was also a little bit underhanded how Nintendo avoided talking about pricing. And then once the pricing stuff was revealed, it was like pretty much like an internet bomb of sorts, and
It
people
was,
kept
yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
and it was funny is so we stream every Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So the direct was on Tuesday. So we had a whole week to kind of let it kind of to
To
watch the
marinate.
fallout, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And while that's happened, it's kind of interesting because Nintendo's been tight-lipped about, oh yeah, the prices, you have to find everything third party to find the prices, and Nintendo's been quiet.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding though is today Nintendo finally released some tidbits of like confirmation going, oh yeah, we're not gonna drop the price of Mario Kart. No way. That type of stuff. Like I've heard
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm not sure if you have or not. But yeah, let's start with Mario Kart, for example, or wherever you want to go with that. There's plenty right off the
Well, I
bat there.
mean, so I think the elephant in the room that I do think we need to address is tariffs. Um,
Yeah.
most analysts that I have been reading, and maybe I'm being a little bit biased, but they think that the reason why it's all so expensive is because they were hedging, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the individual who is currently sitting in the Oval Office has done, innumerable amounts of harm to the world economy in a matter of one day,
hmm
and people knew that this was coming, but no one knew to the extent. And if you're reading the news, most people who, in most instances, have requested to be anonymous have confessed to journalists that they had no idea it was going to be that bad, right?
hmm
Um, so my what the analysts are saying, and I agree with what they're saying is that Nintendo knew that this was coming, so they artificially inflated the prices to compensate for it, so that when the tariffs happened, they could just safely leave the price the same without dropping it. But then when the tariffs were so aggressively insane, just absolutely, you know, completely nonsense.
hmm
Um, that's when they put a pause on the pre-order. And I think the reason why they put a pause on the official pre-orders is because there is a non-zero chance they're going to raise the price again. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
because Japan is now under I think 26% tariff, right? And
Yeah, something like that.
obviously,
Yeah.
for a $400 console, I mean, not even Nintendo can absorb a cost like that. It's just not reasonable. Um, so I think that they've got a lot of accountants and financial people running a lot of numbers, and sort of doing the P&L and checking the cost, the cost benefit analysis, and trying to see if, like, what it will hurt them more, raising the price or eating the cost of the even higher tariffs than they were expecting, right?
Hmm.
Because everybody was expecting the 10% tariff, like that was known. I don't think people expected it to be applied to as many countries as it was applied to, including uninhabited islands off the coast of Australia.
Yeah. But those
Um,
penguins are gonna
they're
penguins are
gonna
gonna pay those
they're gonna
tariffs
pay.
when they
They're gonna
export
pay.
their.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah,
they
yeah,
export. Um,
yeah.
so I can tell you one thing for certain: the prices aren't going to come down. And while I think $80 is an insane amount of money to to pay for a single video game, um, from a standpoint of inflation and adjusted numbers, it's not unheard of. Um, and for decades, video game prices have remained the most inflation resistant entertainment product on the market.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was only a matter of time before, kind of, in my opinion, the other shoe dropped. And we're just seeing that, right? Because I think, the worst kept secret in the games industry right now is the fact that GTA 6 is going to come out and it's going to cost $100, right? Like,
Hmm.
basically everybody knows that. It's just that Nintendo beat Rockstar to the punch in this instance. Um, you know, there's no good news about this, right? It's the price of the game is too expensive, pure and simple. Um, but I don't really know what to do about it, right? I guess you could just boycott Nintendo and not buy their games, which is perfectly reasonable. And I
Hmm.
know a lot of people who are like, "Nope, too rich for my blood. I'm out." And that is
Yeah.
a totally reasonable way to go, because
Hmm.
shop with, your power is in where you spend your money, right? That's really the only power
Sure.
you have.
Yeah.
Um, and but I don't think that this is an isolated incident, and I don't think Nintendo is going to be the only one with games breaching these numbers. Um, I think that this is just the beginning of a much larger trend, and where it goes, I don't know, right? Because for years, game companies, in good faith and in bad faith, have been experimenting with other ways to monetize their product. Um, Now there can be a larger conversation about where all the money is going, because Mario Kart World is going to sell 20 million
Hmm.
units when it's all said and done, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that a game that is ultimately guaranteed to sell that much needs to be that price is a little bit ridiculous from a, I guess, an ethical standpoint, if you want to call it that.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and frankly, Nintendo is by all accounts more ethical than a lot of game companies in terms of how well they pay their employees, the benefits they give their employees. Um,
Sure.
so uh, they're a much more, from a business standpoint. It's a better place to work than, say, EA or Ubisoft or Activision, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But it's not going to change. It's only going to go up. Um, and a lot of people, like I said, in good and bad faith, have experimented with a ton of different ways to make money. Free to play content, battle passes, the evil, you know, loot boxes,
Hmm.
um, and no one has been able to find a way to get the prices down. Right, the development costs keep going up, and we can have a conversation that I don't think it's justified that the development costs are as high as they are, but what are you going to do? Um, um, uh, Development costs have gone up as games become higher and higher fidelity. Well, you have to have people to make those games, and those people have to be paid, right? They're not,
Hmm.
they love games, but you know, loving games doesn't pay rent, is what it boils down
Yeah.
to, right?
Yeah.
um, and so, yeah, I mean, as a consumer, it sucks because I don't want to spend that much money on a game. That being said, I'll probably play Mario Kart World for 100 hours, 200 hours, right? Because it's Mario Kart. So, you amortize the price over the length of time I'm going to play it, and it's not that expensive, right? The sting is in that it's this massive upfront cost, but in terms of the amount of hours of entertainment that I'm going to get out of it, well,
Hmm.
okay, that's not unreasonable, right? And I
Hmm.
know I'm a horrible Nintendo fanboy. I'm really not trying to make it sound like I'm defending them. $80 is too much to upfront cost to buy a game. But I also don't really see a solution to this. And like I said, this is only the beginning, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like before you, I mean, you and I texted a little bit, so I was a little bit surprised sometimes because I thought your fanboy powers would pretty much overpower any reasonable takes or even counter to support Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is you're as a fanboy, you're allowed to do that, and that's totally fine to be
Right.
part of a to part of be part of the in crowd. But I was actually kind of taken aback. It's like, what? Even Eric thinks that the
Yeah.
prices are high.
Yeah.
I thought for sure. I really thought for sure we'd have more of a interesting debate this for tonight. Where I would be the one with the voice of reason, and you would be the one that's the complete fanboy.
Right.
And again, there's nothing wrong. I'm not
Trying to
shaming you
steel
for that
man a
at
straw
all.
man.
Yeah, yeah. So what's funny though is now I'm gonna go counter to this a little bit, but so we are gonna have a sort of a debate,
Okay.
sorta.
All right.
But I do like to entertain the whole idea that I don't know if tariffs were the thing, and
Okay.
we're not a political show at all.
No, no,
We don't do
no. I mean,
political
again,
podcast stuff at all.
I'm reading
And believe me,
analysts, and analysts don't
yeah,
have any more facts than we do. They just have
no,
experience.
no. But and for me, and I'm gonna be the first, yeah, anybody that knows me, I'm the, I don't want to give excuses. I'd
Mm-hmm.
love to blame it on the tariffs here, but this is a corporation,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I'm getting long in the tooth and older, and you're behind me, so you're still youngin compared to
Thank
me,
you. I'm glad someone's
but
finally saying I'm young.
yeah. But I guess I'm a little bit more jaded with I believe I understand the tariff uh reasoning,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel almost like Nintendo can use that as an excuse because I don't trust Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And I also and I mean, sure, tariffs are a villain, but I feel like Nintendo's still a bigger villain because we've been here before, and you and I talked about this off stream. We've been here before, like in the 90s. I remember when Killer Instinct came out, and boy, they wanted to bilk everybody out of
Mm-hmm.
their money on that game. That game was just a stupid cartridge, $90 or 85 or something like
It
that,
was
I think.
insane. Yeah.
It was insanely priced. There was no tariffs then, and they had no problem charging that money. And Square Enix, with their Final Fantasy cred at the time, their street cred for that game, oh, they built that
Mm-hmm.
to to hell and high water with the price for that game. That game was $75 for a few iterations of Final Fantasy until they got humbled by what the mid 2000 mid
Mm-hmm.
aughts 2010. Then they started getting humbled because everybody else is making great RPGs too. So I guess for me, I understand the tariffs almost felt like a convenient global situation that Nintendo could kind of fall back on to say, hey, we need to make these prices this way because of, well, see, we have tariffs. But they've historically they've done this before when they know they have all when they think they have the casino and they have the house all to themselves. I've seen them pull this crap before. And so I'm a little bit more jaded with it. I just don't know if I believe the oh poor corporation, we need to do this because of tariffs things. But I feel like they've been planning this price for a long time because of the price of GPUs has been astronomically high for the
Yeah.
past couple of years
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
I think the Nvidia price for the GPU corporation GPU there is probably causing a little bit of a spike in the price. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. We can go to the history, and you could correct me on any of this if I'm wrong, but the history
You're
of
not wrong on any of it.
Nintendo. Yeah, okay. But so here's the thing. So Nintendo, I hate to use this term, but I will as an 80s kid, I will use this term.
Okay.
I think Nintendo has gone through, if you want to compare wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo's gone heel plenty of
Mm-hmm.
times and has been babyface plenty of times.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo was definitely heel during that Killer Instinct cartridge saga, where they
Mm-hmm.
were just stick in the mud, like, and even before oh man, we can go way back. Nintendo had all the cards, like with their 8-bit Nintendo, and they went to Super
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo, and they were pretty much bilking publishers like Capcom and Konami go, nope, you have to work for us, no one else. and they were. I don't know. I remember.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I
paraphrasing this,
remember. Yeah,
so
yeah,
you could
yeah.
probably, yeah, you could probably speak to this better than I could. But
Mm-hmm.
they were jerks. They were heels. And what do they do? Those other companies like Konami and Capcom went to the four winds and found Sony, for example, and Sega, for
Mm-hmm.
that matter, started making games. And you know what it did is Nintendo inadvertently made them stronger. Where they went, you know what, we don't need you, Nintendo, and then they
Yep.
gave them the finger and they moved on with their lives. Nintendo once again stick in the mud. No, we want cartridges. We only want cartridges. We don't believe in new media at all. We because you know why? Because they had the whole market cornered with cartridges. They went, well, this is what is our bread and butter. What do? They hampered themselves, shot themselves in the foot, while Sony got market share, became the hero or the baby face of this wrestling circuit
Mm-hmm.
of consoles, and Nintendo became the heel for a long time until they got beaten up so much, so badly that they finally acquiesced and went, "Okay, we're okay. We'll do this with the GameCube. We'll do mini discs. It's our compromise." But it was enough of there was enough of a heel turn to where they became babyface again, where we
Mm-hmm.
started rooting for them again. By the time when they got to the Wii, oh, they were darlings again.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a really long-winded way of me saying I don't know if I believe Nintendo when they're saying that they've got this global thing going on. It's a great excuse and a great fallback, but I would not put it past Nintendo as a greedy corporation to think that they've had this pricing in here for at least a year, and it's just convenient. Um, so
I
that's
mean,
my take.
that is the best option. Nintendo being greedy is the best because it's exactly what you say. If they're doing another heel turn, which they are famous for doing,
Yeah.
um, uh, then they'll get smacked down by the market because the market
Hmm.
won't take it. And we know that happened because it's happened to them multiple times in their very long history, right?
Hmm.
And so if this is another heel turn and they are trying to leverage the sort of right now invincibility of their brands, which is
Yep.
possible,
Hmm.
and they overextend themselves in this instance, then guess what's going to happen? The prices will come down. It'll come down
Yeah.
after they, cede a crap ton of market share to one of their competitors that they're trying to, deal with. So literally, if it's just them trying to maximize their revenue, their profits, then that is the best outcome, right? Because
Hmm.
they can control that, right?
Yeah.
If there
Yeah.
are global economic forces that they have zero control over, that's the worst case scenario. So frankly, I'm on your side. I want it to be that. I want them to just be in heel turn
Yeah.
mode, right?
Yeah.
Because that means that the
Sure. I
prices
mean,
can come down once they get smacked down a little bit. So,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
And you're hoping that they get a piece of humble pie,
yeah, exactly,
because of that.
exactly.
But the thing is, you're not going to see it with this cycle.
Nope.
It's going to take a full another cycle. Like by the time we're 80 years old, we might see them go back to being good again, the good guys again. At this point, at least for me,
Yeah.
Again, you have the luxury of being younger than me, so you'll be 70 and I'll be 80.
I'm not that
So
much
there we
younger
go.
than you, James.
But you know what? You and I are just spitballing. I'm just
Yeah.
pulling up just past history of why I'm so
Yeah,
jaded
no.
with Nintendo. There was a moment in time I've been less of a fanboy than you have, but I was a huge fanboy of Nintendo back in the late 80s and 90s, back pretty much when I was a kid. And I
Mhm.
was like, this is the only way to go. Sega sucks, Sony
Mhm.
sucks. So I've kind of been there where I was part of the religion or the cult of it, of Nintendo. And now I'm more just casual. I mean, not casual. I really do love Mario, Metro. I love all
Mhm.
those
Mhm.
properties, and I
Mhm.
still will support them and still enjoy them for what they are because they're made by great artists and great developers, great
Mhm.
talent. So I'll always throw my money at that stuff. But yeah, but the corporation itself, oh man.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'll give you yeah, and I'll
yeah.
give you another example of how of when they became the heroes again when the president of Nintendo took a cut his
Satoru
salary in
Iwata.
half.
Mhm.
Yeah, he took a
Mhm.
because the 3DS did not do well,
Mhm.
and Reggie was the president of Nintendo of NOA,
NOA. Yeah,
right?
Reggie Fils-Aimé. Yeah.
And he swore on trying to get the Wii with the Wii bundle, like the Wii Fit. I mean, not the Fit, but the Wii Sports bundle, kind of
Yeah.
like for the
He
fans
he
because they're
put
both
his yeah, he put his
yeah.
career on the line to get that bundled in with the Wii. Yeah.
That's the stuff that made me go, okay, I want to root for you guys, kind of a thing. I
Yeah,
don't
but
see that right now with this stupid tech demo thing. They're gonna charge
oh,
10
my
bucks for it.
10 bucks
Where
for
are
it?
you?
I mean, just
What are you guys
that was
doing?
eye rolling. That was
I
absolutely
mean,
eye rolling.
that is such heel turn
Yeah,
crap that Nintendo's doing right now, man.
I considered it because in Japan it's about $6, and in the
Okay.
States it's $10. And I at $6 I'd be like, okay, I guess. But when they announced that it was $10 in the States, I'm like, nope, not happening. Not for ten
Oh,
dollars. Not for $10. Um, let's not forget that I am a fanboy. I will grouse and
yeah,
complain
sure,
all the way to the
sure.
store while I hand
Yeah,
them my overinflated price of a game, because I am going to play Mario Kart. I am going to play Metroid Prime
yeah,
4. I am going to play
sure.
Donkey Kong Bonanza, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
But I'll complain about it the whole time. And I think that, when I say Nintendo fanboy, I don't mean the corporate overlords, I mean the
Yeah, of course.
creators. I mean
Yep. Mm-hmm.
the franchises, the art and the entertainment that comes, that is sort of
Yep.
almost like a weird unintentional collateral benefit of a corporation, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's Mario that I have a parasocial relationship with, not the corporation that is called Nintendo, right? Um,
Yeah.
but it is interesting. When I was a kid, and kids do this, they get really, really obsessed about things that they love, blindly so, because because they're trying to discover what their identity is. It's totally natural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and so I was all in on the Nintendo cult, and looking back on it, it's so funny to remember the rationalizations that I would make for obviously things that in my gut I knew was like, man, that's bullshit, but but then
Yeah.
you're like, no, gut, quiet. I'm supposed to, approve of
Yeah.
everything that they do, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that it is interesting. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they are a corporation. They do want to make money, and if this if this play is simply an attempt for them to price gouge fans, I hope it blows up in their face, because they'll deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will.
Mm-hmm.
I am no longer a blind member of the Nintendo cult, right? Um, I am an adult who has to pay for my own games. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
I totally get that.
Um,
Yeah.
so yes, if they are price gouging, then hell yeah, I want to see them fail. Absolutely, that's garbage, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so, but that being said, I excuse me, I'm sorry. Uh, that being said, I do believe that in the current climate, worldwide economic climate, there's no way that they didn't factor in the uncertainty of the economy of the world right now. In my opinion, it was
Mm-hmm.
definitely a part of
Mm-hmm.
it. Whether it
Yeah.
was all of it or not, I doubt it. Whether it was even half, I don't know. But it definitely played a
Mm-hmm.
part.
Yeah. And now here we are. We're stuck no matter what. I mean, even the pre-orders are they still delayed? As of today,
Mm-hmm.
I think they still are, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
They have not announced when they're going to open official pre-orders at this point.
so then if that's the case, and now we're just second guessing stuff, they're gonna have to if they really are trying to factor in the tariff stuff, are they gonna add another 10% onto the price that was originally kind of found out everywhere?
Yeah, it's
I'm
a good
curious.
question. Like that, this is a question that everybody's asking. Like, obviously, you can't make iPhones completely in the States. It's not literally, it is not
Mhm.
cosmically possible, because we don't mine cobalt in the United States, right? We don't, like,
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
literally materials that are in an iPhone that you fundamentally cannot get in this country.
Hmm.
So even if Apple miraculously spun up an iPhone manufacturing plant tomorrow, they would still
Hmm.
have to import aluminum, cobalt, all of these, all the different materials used to construct the iPhone, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, um, as a result, Apple's stock is tanking, and Apple is, rumored right now to be doing this massive kind of internal study about how much of the tariff they absorb versus how much they pass on to consumers, right?
Hmm.
Like, if they just pass on all of the tariff to consumers, which obviously they would prefer to do, um, then it's going to hurt their brand, right? But I think that most people understand what a disastrous situation we're in right now,
Hmm.
and will allow a slight price inflation as long as they don't feel like the whole cost is being passed on to them, right? Like if Apple
Hmm.
assumes some of that cost, then people will like, oh well, okay. And I think Apple's definitely doing it. They've openly said that they're doing it. I guarantee you, anybody who makes any sort of electronic device, whether it's an entertainment device or a lawnmower,
Hmm.
they are weighing their options about how much of the tariff to pass on to consumers, right? Um, and you know, um, and so yeah, Nintendo is absolutely doing that. How much they choose to pass on, I don't know. It will be at least 10% though. Um, it might be 50% of it, so it's possible that the price could go up by another 15%. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean
Yeah.
this
And
is the world we're living in right now.
yeah, it's crazy. And then meanwhile, I mean, there's side stuff happening too. Like here in California, there's already talk like where the governor's talking about wanting to kind of negotiate tariffs, at least on this port, on
Mm-hmm.
our side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that could be a weird situation where maybe prices could stay the same if California becomes this single port hub of sending your stuff through here through us first kind of a thing. I
I
don't know how that's gonna
I
work.
don't
Who
even know if that's
knows?
legal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's kind of
Right.
all
Like
over the place with that, right?
if California could just ignore federal law, then they could just dispel
Yeah.
the Jones Act and lower the
Hmm.
price of all of their shipping. They could just start building their
Hmm.
own ships and
Yeah.
contracting with South Korea, but they
Hmm.
don't do that, right? And
Yeah.
they obviously don't do that because they're not allowed to legally on a federal level. So I mean,
Yeah.
it would be amazing if they pulled it off. I can't see how they possibly could though.
Well, it's also amazing what money can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I mean, as far as I know, California is like the fifth largest economy, so that means there's a lot of money that's going back and forth
Mm-hmm.
through this state.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think that the somewhere along the line that kind of cachet kind of does hold some sway on in some circles somewhere. I don't know. It's beyond my pay grade, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you and I are just kind of we're just two Nintendo. I'm an ex Nintendo fanboy. You're a practical Nintendo
I'm a
fanboy. Remember we
practical
are just
Nintendo
talking.
fanboy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, but the jury's still out. I don't know what's gonna. I yeah, it's completely insane
Yeah.
what's happening now.
I mean,
Um,
I would have it is frustrating. I mean, we don't typically get political on the show, but I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
what's happening
We don't
right
have
now
to.
is yeah, it's unavoidable. This is an absolute catastrophe. Um and and it is I just don't know how you avoid it. Especially given that Nintendo did the big announce and then 2 days later
Hmm.
said, "Well, we're
Yeah,
holding off on the pre-order specifically because tariffs." Um,
yeah. It was already a debacle on their part, and then it's been a forced debacle on top of that.
yeah,
It's almost like being forced to do a Wii U rollout all over again, and it's sort of partly their fault and partly the our country's fault, I guess. I don't
it
know.
is.
I
Yeah,
mean,
well, it's not our country; it's one person, but
well, yeah,
well,
one
one
person,
person
yeah.
elected by less than 25% of the
Yes, and that's what I
population. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But regardless, here we are. Yeah. And so here we are dealing with that. And yeah, I just feel like I don't know if Nintendo's gonna end up having to price it up higher, how many more units will be sold and
yeah.
how many people are gonna be able to play like how many people are gonna play Mario Kart together,
I mean,
all this kind of stuff, that
yeah. I
kind of gets
mean,
into it.
the I don't think it'll happen because the United States is too big of a market, but
Mm,
for the longest time, Brazil had import tariffs at the rate, um, that the United States has now put on them. And you know what they did? They just stopped selling to Brazil. For over 5 years, you couldn't buy Nintendo products in Brazil because they didn't want to pay the
s-
tariffs.
so there'll be a hot commodity in
Yeah,
Brazil
yeah,
to get
yeah.
Nintendo.
There was a black market to get Nintendo products in Brazil.
Wow.
Um, um, Now the United States has 330 million people. I think Brazil
Hmm.
has, I don't know, 20 million at most. Um,
Yeah.
so there's no way they're gonna not sell it in the States. But Nintendo is clearly not above, you know, exiting or limiting access to various markets that they don't find profitable. So
Hmm.
if they need to, they will not be shy about raising the price. I mean, it will just happen. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so there
Do
you
you
go.
think do you think they're going to raise the price on the actual games themselves even more? Because it feels like there's so much wiggle room with the games. It feels
Yeah.
so subjective. Like I said, like we just talked about how games were 80 to 75 bucks back in the 90s.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden they just kind of just went back down. And even when Nintendo became good guys, they even dropped their price to 50 bucks pop for GameCube games
Hmm.
just to fight with big
Yeah, to
mean
get a
Sony,
leg in
right?
again. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously those prices are very flexible.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
And it makes me wonder why they're being so rigid on the price of Mario Kart, for example. And those, kind of doing this really wishy-washy kind of pricing on games like Donkey Kong Bananza, 70 bucks. So that rivals Tears of the Kingdom pricing
Hmm.
for they're considering that a top tier game like Tears of the Kingdom at 70 bucks. I don't know.
It looks pretty fun.
They're
It looks pretty
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it does it looks pretty cool. It reminds me of old gameplay footage of the Incredible Hulk game that you could destroy your
Hmm.
environment and stuff like that. They pretty much taken Donkey Kong, turned him into an Incredible Hulk kind of a character.
Well,
At
what it
least in my initial impression
yeah,
of it.
what it reminds me of is down to how they're handling terrain deformation is Deep
Hmm.
Rock Galactic,
Uh-huh.
which uses a similar. God, I don't know enough about the technology to even venture a guess of how they did it, but it looks like they use the same kind of technology or um, uh, principal graphics or terrain print. I don't know words. It seems like they're using the same technology to generate the terrain in the same way that Deep Rock Galactic did to make it very
Uh-huh.
deformable.
Okay.
So, um, so, so yeah, it definitely at least the look of the environment really, really has a lot of Deep Rock Galactic vibes to it. To the point where you can just dig anywhere you want. Same thing with Deep Rock Galactic, right? Um,
Hmm.
Deep Rock Galactic had an auto kill button, so if you get trapped in a place and you can't get out of, you could just auto kill yourself and respawn. Donkey Kong Bonanza has that
Okay.
exact same thing, right? So
Hmm.
there is a lot of similarities there. That being said, it
Hmm.
still looks like a hell of a lot of fun.
Hmm. I will say, and I haven't had a chance to look at it too closely, but I am neutral towards the. This is me nerding out. Donkey Kong is my main when it comes to playing Mario Party, any
Hmm.
of these multiplayer games where you get to play Donkey Kong. What I always liked about Donkey Kong is he was pretty in my take, he's equivalent to the anti-hero for the Mario universe. Like
Okay.
the Punisher is. Like,
Okay.
if Spider-Man, if you were to take Spider-Man, you make him Mario.
Hmm.
And then Donkey Kong is pretty much like Venom or Punisher, where he's kind of an asshole, but yet you can still root for him a little
Hmm.
bit.
Hmm.
I think the problem now is I do like, I mean, the visual design for him is throwback. It feels very retro to like those old arcade cabinet type of stuff, like
Hmm.
with Donkey Kong, where again he was a villain, and you were Mario, and Mario didn't get top billing in that game. It's called Donkey Kong.
Right.
You're trying to trying to ruin this asshole's life and make him land on his head and save Pauline from the clutches of this mean giant King Kong like character, right? And then Rare, what I call the Rare design, when they started
Hmm.
doing Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong 3D and stuff like that, they kind of polished up they changed the design enough. They gave him they kind of polished him up, gave him a tie, but
Hmm.
they also kind of made him kind of likable. Like he was like actually kind of nice, but yet his brow was always still furrowed. Like he was still a jerk. Now with this new iteration of Donkey Kong that I'm seeing here, they kind of borrowed from the movie, I guess, and I think they're doing throwback to the arcade cabinet. But he's too nice. He's too likable. Now he's a big old lovable galoot. I don't like this. A take on him. Now he's just likable. It's like I don't want that. I want him to be kind of a jerk still. Like even when he's winning, you kind of feel like, man, he's such an asshole. And like when he's losing, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, but he's still a bully. That's gone. He's kind of taken on the you know what it is for me? This new iteration of Donkey Kong is he's pretty much Donkey Kong Jr. He's his son. He's
Mm.
just likable and just a cute little galoot now. It's like, no, it's not for me, it's not Donkey Kong as
Okay.
much.
All right.
That's my issue with this Donkey Kong.
Full disclosure, I have never put that much thought into Donkey Kong. So I
Very fair.
respect your opinion. It
Hmm.
it was not ever anything that I thought about. Donkey Kong to me was always just an ancillary character that never quite fit
Hmm.
in anywhere. Um, because
Yeah.
I mean, partially because he looks so different from the rest of the sort of the Mario milieu, right? And I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
what they're trying to do with the redesign at least is bring him more into the fold so he fits better within the Mario sort of larger Mario franchise.
Hmm.
Um, in terms of him being an anti-hero, I mean, who's to say he's not stealing all those gold bananas in Donkey Kong Bonanza, right? Who's to say that he's not trespassing on private property and destroying
Yeah.
all of this terrain, right? He can be smiling about it, but if his intentions aren't true, then he could still be, he could be like Wario.
Yeah. I guess, but I mean, we're what we're relying on is pretty much the writer saying that. I think,
Right. In as much
we
as
don't
there's a
ever get
writer
any.
on Donkey Kong
Yeah,
Bonanza.
unless they do that in the story somehow and go, "Hey, get off my lawn, you jerk, Donkey Kong." Unless
Yeah.
that happens, I don't know if that's enough for me. I
Well,
I, I
I'm
have to read a paragraph of it, like from what you said. I
yeah.
would I would go with that if that was the case, but I don't. I suspect Nintendo's not going to do that because they just do all their narrative stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know exactly who the jerks are.
Yeah.
Bowser's always a jerk.
Yeah.
Wario's always a jerk. Waluigi's always a jerk, and they always even their laughs are mean. Like they have the
Mm-hmm.
mustache, and they know their role.
Yeah.
But Donkey Kong kind of floats in that. I don't know about this dude. He's always
Well,
got that uneasiness to him. But now he's cute. Oh, I want
well,
a plushie of
you're
him.
definitely not going to like this then.
Oh no.
A Nintendo Korea had a publicity still. So it has that purple rock on his shoulder. Well, at one point,
Uh-huh.
what looks like Pauline's daughter is smiling as she hangs off of his shoulder as he like pounds into the ground. So he's definitely now that he's allied with Pauline, I think his anti-hero days are long behind him. He's a
Yo, it sounds
a
like it.
reformed gorilla. So
Yeah,
sorry,
he's
James.
definitely.
I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
know. What do you do?
What is that line?
What do you do?
Uh
You live long enough to become the villain,
well,
but in this
I
case, you
was put
live
a
long enough
comedy
to.
spin. You either die an anti-hero or live long enough to become a child's plushie toy.
Oh boy, so mean. Nicely put, though. I have to give you credit for that. It's nicely put, but man, what a bummer. So here's my other question though: is why don't they like Donkey Kong Jr.? The last time he showed up anywhere was Mario Kart, I think,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
the
they never came.
original Super
Like
Mario
he's this,
Kart.
yeah, he's this is the perfect spot to reintroduce him.
Yeah,
Just make him, just give him the tank top, whatever, and then just go to town. It perfectly fits for Donkey Kong Jr.
I
He's a likable guy. He's the one that's a hero
yeah, he's
going
a true
against
hero.
Mario, making
Mm-hmm.
Mario, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
making Mario only time in his career where Mario's the villain, I think,
Yes,
if you want to call it
pretty
that.
sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is the villain of Donkey Kong Jr. At least the
Yeah,
antagonist.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And it's a great arcade game. I love that
yeah,
game.
Donkey Kong Jr.
So
is
good.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I think I mean the reality is he serves the same purpose that Diddy Kong does, and Diddy Kong is a more compelling
Hmm.
character
Yeah.
than Donkey Kong Jr. is. Um,
Hmm.
but if we want to like work into the fiction side of it, what if this Donkey Kong is Donkey Kong Jr. all grown up, and now he's taken the mantle of his
I'd
dad?
love that. Yeah, I'd love that, but I don't. Again, we're relying on a writer's paragraph for that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I
No, I
think
don't
they're
think they
just
care.
there's a new here's Donkey Kong now. See what he's like now. It's like,
Yep.
what are you doing?
Well,
But it's okay.
I
Whatever.
gotta put some of the responsibility on your shoulders that you have created a fiction around Donkey Kong being an anti-hero.
I'm just using that as a way to kind of make it palatable for our discussion. That's all it is.
Well,
I,
I
I mean,
mean,
that's how I see him.
you're
But
not the only one. I mean, he was straight up an anti-hero in the Super Mario Brothers movie, right? He was sort
yeah,
of
yeah,
the jerk
yeah.
character who had a change of heart, but he was still a little rough around the edges even when he was a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying is absolutely valid, and some pretty important screenwriters, well, I guess they're pretty important now after that movie,
Yeah.
um, agreed with your take on the character. So you're definitely not off base. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but again, it's all a moot point. We have Mario Kart here. It's proving out, and Donkey Kong Bonanza. From what I've seen, he's just a likable
He's
galoot
just going
now,
to be
and
a
I'm just
likable glue. Yeah.
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 And as a Donkey Kong kind of fanboy, I'm a little
Mm-hmm.
bit disappointed with that because when I get to play the next iteration of Mario Party, he's gonna be cute. I'm
It'll
not gonna be
be,
able to be
yeah.
a jerk as much.
Oh, you'll still
Now I
be a
need to
jerk.
actually, yeah, but I think I may have to go now. I may have to go to Wario or Waluigi, which
Yeah,
is
that's
just dead
true.
on, on the nose bad guy.
Right, 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 right. Yeah. The
It's just
definition of
different.
trolls.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, the good news
whatever.
is at Super Nintendo Land LA and Super Nintendo Land Florida, they haven't changed the character costumes yet. He still looks like old school rare
Hmm.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
Um, and it is interesting. Uh, I mean, I don't see them doing any sort of major redesign of that area of the
yeah.
park, and so it all still very much looks like the rare slash retro take on Donkey Kong, right? So
No, yeah.
this will be a transitionary thing that happens over time. So you can take solace in the fact that a guy in a Donkey Kong suit somewhere in LA and Orlando is still being an anti-hero. He's carrying the torch for you, James.
Yeah. Well, at least, yeah. Just
Hold
hold the line as long as you
hold
can.
fast, sweaty,
Yeah.
underpaid actor.
What's funny though is aren't they making a Donkey Kong Land or Donkey Kong Country zone for
That's what I was talking
the?
about. That's what I was talking
That's what
about.
you're talking
Yeah,
about. Oh,
yeah,
okay. I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
you meant
yeah.
like okay, okay, all right.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I thought it was pretty
it's the Mushroom Kingdom and the Donkey Kong Country area.
got it. Okay, all right. Man, over here in LA, like when we go to Universal Studios and I, go to Nintendo Land, I don't. Where are they gonna put? Where would they put that? I just don't know where they would
Well, in
have
Orlando they
space
have
for.
like a
Oh, plenty of
million.
room.
Yeah, I mean like
Yeah,
there's just infinite space down there so far. So
yeah.
I've seen like because they just did this massive basically redesign of the whole park down there. So they added obviously the Nintendo Land part and the Donkey Kong part. They added a How to Train Your Dragon park. They added just like a sort of general Universal Universe section of the park. I mean, we're talking hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of acres of theme park. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, it was a massive redesign on the entire. And I know it didn't. I know the change wasn't that significant in LA. They just like there's no way to go in LA.
Yeah.
But in Orlando, it's just like this unbelievably massive expansion of the parks. So yeah,
Hmm.
I'm gonna try to get down there. Opening day official for everybody, I think, is in early May. So I'm looking forward to that. It may actually
Well,
be open. I don't know.
we'll definitely take pictures of Donkey Kong. Do some surveillance for me so I
Oh
can just
well,
be angry and shake my hand at the clouds.
right, exactly. Old man
Just to
shouting at
make
clouds.
yeah. If but yeah, I am calmer about that. That's true. They will probably just keep it the rare version
I
of
would
Donkey
imagine
Kong.
so. It just strikes me
Yeah.
as being too expensive to do a redesign at this point, especially given that the new design is only in two games. Like
Hmm.
give it a couple of years when they fully integrated the new design of Donkey Kong into all of the games. Like the next
Yeah.
Mario
Sad.
Party and the next Smash Brothers,
Sad. So
right?
sad. Yeah. Oh
Um,
well.
yeah. Oh well, indeed. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, without a doubt, like I mean, Mario Kart's a no-brainer. That's gonna be great. It looks phenomenal. I'm always like, where do they go from here? And then they always have a way
Hmm.
to like being silly and clever in exactly the ways I want to do it. I mean, come on, adding parkour to a kart racing game, that's great.
Hmm.
Like, you know, that's awesome. I've loved doing wall running since Titanfall, so I'm in. I'm sold already. Um,
So is it true? Like, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say, well, they've pretty much taken this whole open world type of stuff from Forza or something like that. Like that's already existed
yeah,
before, kind of a
it's a
thing.
total blend. I mean,
Mm,
but I mean, and I try to be, I, mean, like, what is it that Brian Cox said, or not Brian Cox? He played Robert McKee, Robert McKee, yeah, who wrote Story, where basically he said
mm-hmm,
every story's already been written. It's just the voice that you tell it in, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so I try not to fault people from being inspired by other games because that would be
mm-hmm.
insane to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But
Not only
looking
that,
at
but then you improve on it anyway.
yeah, yeah, and so what I see in Mario Kart, I see shades of Forza Horizon.
Hmm.
I see, although I go before, I would say Burnout Paradise, but that's fine. Forza's more current. I've always
Yeah.
liked Burnout Paradise more than any of the
Hmm.
Forza Horizon games, but that's okay. I
Hmm.
see a little bit of obviously traditional Mario Kart. There's a little bit of
Yeah.
like Tony Hawk's Downhill Run.
Yeah. That's what
Um,
that's what I thought too.
yeah,
Tony Hawk.
and then Diddy Kong Racing as well. There's a little bit of an
Yeah.
aspect of the adventure side of Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
taking all of these elements from all these different games and mashing them up in what looks like, at least from what I have seen, to be quite an entertaining package. So
Yeah.
I'm
It looks
excited
great.
about it.
No
Yeah,
doubt about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
All
yeah,
right,
Donkey
Eric.
Kong
Well,
Bonanza was yeah. We've uh, not going to repeat myself there. I'm super excited about that one too. So, but are we coming up to the
yeah.
end here? You found an ending point?
Yeah, yeah. For now, for tonight, I think we've got a pretty good ending point. I
Mm-hmm.
put in a lot. I mean, pretty happy with how this turned out. This whole sequence of
Yeah,
we
that
get a
looks
little bit of depth
great.
with
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I gotta get Calamity Jane in there, with the with Tinsel going back
Uh-huh.
and forth, but that's gonna take a little bit more animation. But the general rough setup for this shot is there. Yeah, it's coming together.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah, a little
great.
bit more rough here. But yeah, we're in a pretty good spot for tonight, I think.
Excellent, excellent. This is an
Yeah.
action-packed sequence. It's fun to see it come
Yes.
together. I always love
Yeah.
it when random words that I wrote on a sheet of paper with no regard for the amount of work that it causes you, like it starts coming to life. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh wow, okay, yeah. How did you take my stupid little words and turn it into exactly what I saw in my mind? That's amazing.
The stupid little words are inspiration for my stupid little pictures that are moving. That's what it is, man. That's how it works.
That is how
How
it
it's supposed
works.
to work.
We're the
Yeah.
dream team, man, bringing Warhawks to the world.
Yeah.
On that note,
But cool.
yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Everybody, please head on over to calamityjane.rocks. That'll take you to our Patreon site. You can please consider joining us and helping us make this cartoon a reality. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube, which presumably you have since you're watching this stream right now. And you can check us over on Instagram. It's just another place that we try to keep in contact with everybody, and we'll post silly things there from time to time. But in the meantime, we'll be back next week. And same Calamity time, same Calamity channel. Stay safe out there, everybody. Have a good one. Good night.
Good night.